to make up for the shortfall?
Well, the quickest fix is to acquire about 40 of the Sukhoi 30 MKIs at short notice from Russia.
Or Mirage?
I think they're talking about Sukhois because you already have a well-established infrastructure for them. You've got a very huge air crew. There are huge air crew numbers to operate that aircraft.
So you need aircraft immediately.
So you need aircraft immediately to overcome the gap, and of course hasten the procurement process, release the request for proposals quickly so that you get aircraft soon, because once you place the order it will take still about a minimum of 5 to 6 years before the aircraft start arriving. So to speed up it's all about speeding up the requirements.
And how do you chivvy up the LCA program?
I think there is no shortcut. You just have to accept the fact that the LCA is late, is going to get later. So either you really go into an unabashed collaboration with somebody who's got the track record to pull you out of the situation that you are in now.
And now take a look at the current strength of the Indian Air Force.
Operational strength of Indian Air Force. Combat aircraft 650, frontline aircraft Sukhoi 30 MKI, Mirage 2000, MiG-29 and MiG-21 and Jaguars. Operational squadrons 32. Transport aircraft approximately 200 IL-76, AN-32 and Avro class. Helicopters approximately 190 Mi-8, Mi-17, Mi-26 and Cheetah. In addition, 100 basic jet trainers Kiran. These will be replaced between 2007 and 2011 by advanced jet trainers Hawk. Manpower 1,10,000 air warriors and 40,000 civilians. Force multipliers 6 more IL-78 air refuelers, 3 Falcon AWACS and aerostat radars.
Marshal Baba, about the 126 multi-role aircraft for which the request for proposals will be out soon, how long will this project take to materialize, turn into aircraft?
Let me go back a little. No country today, even in Europe you can see, leave alone the American, the Russians or the Chinese, nobody is producing any aeroplane singly. There are 2-3 nations getting together and then making it. This is a question of finance, and we till last 10 years we were not doing well. We were not even getting 3% of the GDP for defense. So we have not been able to go through with that program of LCA.
But how long?
The LCA has been sliding because of many reasons. When 1945 war was coming to an end, it was in terminal phase, there was a race to occupy Berlin to capture maximum number of scientists, which the Americans and the Russians took away. We didn't think of it when Russia was breaking away. We should have got outside help. We have not done, we have not thought about that. Unless you preempt such problems, you will continue to slide. And now we have got to procure aeroplanes from abroad. There is no other shortcut. We should try and minimize the number of types so that we can concentrate more on them. Go in for the Su-30, go in for the Mirage 2000, and if at all the American window is open, we should take some.
But whichever the aircraft, how long, what is the minimum time it will take for the first squadron to be operational?
You see, this is a commodity which is not found on the shelf. Wherever and whenever you order, minimum time is 3 years, 36 months. The first piece will be delivered to you. So by the time you get all the goodies that you want, it will be 5 to 6 years, nothing less.
Even more, possibly.
Maybe more.
Kapil, you've studied the Pakistan Air Force, you've studied the People's Liberation Army Air Force. Would you like to tell us a little bit about its capacities, its aircraft, and where does it fit into this so-called balance of power in the region?
Pakistan is in a process of rejuvenation right now, if I may use the word. They are buoyed because they are getting help from the US. They are planning to procure more F-16s because they have historically operated the F-16 since the 1980s, and they are very happy with that aircraft. They want the latest version of the F-16, which is the Block 52. They may not get it with all the sensors which the Americans use, but they're trying their best to get that.
But there are a lot of riders on the use of the F-16.
I'm sure they are, but then at times of war, I'm sure, you know, they can always claim that for their supreme national interest, they can use it for whatever use they may see it fit.
Right.
An F-16 will be overkill to use against the Taliban. They're probably the old World War II aircraft, slow moving, with a ground hugging capability. They're
And
the
overall, how in terms of numbers, what operational squadrons?
They have a strength of about 350 odd frontline combat aircraft types, and they're in the process of inducting more. They're getting the Chinese built JF-17 fighter
Thunder.
Yeah, about 2 to 3 years from now on, the first conversion unit may be raised, and apart from that, they're getting more and more force multipliers. They're trying to get 4 air-to-air refueling tankers from refurbished from Uzbekistan, the IL-78, the same type which the Indian Air Force operates. And they're getting the and they're getting a few AWACS aircraft, such as the Swedish-built Eries, which will give them a fantastic reach in capability in terms of observation.
So unless we modernize at a faster pace, the balance of power may tilt in their favor.
Our force multipliers, such as tankers, and our AWACS program is still slipping. Our Falcon is expected, say, about 2 to 3 years later. And we have got air-to-air refueling tankers, but even they are being found short. So we need to acquire more. And as for combat types, yes, definitely, as the Air Marshal and Mr. Chopra have said, we really need to acquire them.
And what about the Chinese Air Force, quickly?
The Chinese Air Force again operates a mixer of old types of 1960s vintage, such as MiG-21 variants, and the Sukhoi 30, which is the latest aircraft today. And they qualitatively, their Sukhoi 30s are inferior to ours, but again,
the Sukhoi 27.
No, they have the Sukhoi 27, which they use as a pure fighter, and they have the Sukhoi 30 MKK, which is similar to our MKI, but doesn't have that same level of capabilities. But again, the thing about the Chinese Air Force is the numbers. They have them in numbers. Like, we still have about 3 squadrons worth. They'll have about 100 worth of Su-27s.
So I think they proved this theory about density and numbers. Just
Absolutely. Historically, the Chinese have always concentrated on a mix of numbers, quantity over quality.
And now, take a look at the combat capacities of the Pakistan Air Force and the People's Liberation Army Air Force.
Combat strength of Pakistan and Chinese Air Force. Pakistan Air Force, total combat aircraft 350 of Mirage, F-16, Q-5 and F-7 class. Pakistan's light combat aircraft JF-17, co-produced with China, will be inducted by end 2007. Transport aircraft 30, mainly Hercules. People's Liberation Army Air Force, total combat aircraft 2,500 to 3,000, mainly J-7, J-8 and Q-5. Nearly 400 Sukhoi 27, which would be equivalent to Indian Sukhoi 30 and JF-17 fighter aircraft, are to be inducted. Transport aircraft 400, mainly copies of Russian AN-12 and AN-26.
Pushpinder, what about this modernization program?
Obviously, the Indian Air Force is going to base its future combat strength on the Sukhoi 30 MKI, which is being received in steadily larger numbers. I think they are looking at that as the real long reach fighter, heavy fighter. We talked about the light combat aircraft, and I'll skip that for a moment. Then the Indian Air Force looking for a medium multi-role combat aircraft. This is the MRCA, which is really going to actually be the spine of the Indian Air Force combat strength over the next 3 or 4 decades. And as Air Marshal Baba said, we cannot have too many multiplicity of types. So I think these 3, a heavy, a medium fighter and a light fighter, is what the Indian Air Force must go in for. Whether we're talking about 40 squadrons or 35 squadrons or 30 squadrons, whatever it is, the Indian Air Force roadmap is quite clear on it. It's a question of how quickly are they allowed to get on with it.
But these mid-air refuelers, we are getting 6 more of the IL-78 type. That gives the Indian Air Force a tremendous reach.
I am from the vintage of Spitfires, Spitfire vintage. when the numbers were large in war. Today, technology has given so much of agility to the air power that it can be used from many directions and many places. It's